Animals less healthy than you can't nourish you.
Are you surviving or are you thriving?
Are you too busy to live?
Do you have grain brain?
That was framed.
Fight for your life. Get your prescription for health today.
Is Mother Nature too good to be
It's
true?
not you, it's the food. It's a no-brainer.
Oh, that isn't happening to us.
It's already happening to you, woman. Join our army of Minas.
Keep the government off our farms.
Make it happen today.
Save the bacon.
Save the bacon. It's time to drop some atomic mom bombs.
It's not me, it's you. Invest in your life.
Yay! Her name is Neethi. Go save the bacon, Mommy.
Speaker Neethi Bali, right here. If you've, have you ever encountered someone that when you got done with your conversation with them, you feel like you've just drunk out of a fire hose and walked through a tornado? Your ears are pinned back and your hair's all. Some of us don't have much, but you feel like you've just been woo. All right, that's Neethi, and so Neethi, we're so honored that you're here, and actually brought her entourage here. Not everybody travels with an entourage, so Neethi has her own. Bless you, Neethi, for being here, and tell us your story. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Is this mic working? Is it working? Well, I don't even know what to say. I love Joel so much, and he's been my mentor for a long time, and I am just honored to be here and share the stage with him especially. I just want to say I do not comply. I do not comply. I do not comply. And I'm so eager to see how this glorious day is going to unfold, and I wanted to thank you so much for choosing to be here. All of you made intentional choices to be here today. Thank you so much for arriving. And I am incredibly passionate about this topic. And if I try to free range this talk, I'm gonna mess it all up, because I want to make sure I stay on point and I maintain my time. So I'm going to read this speech to you, and then I'm going to open it up for questions. And I hope to have enough time at the end for questions and answers, okay? So my intention this morning is to give you a more conscious awareness of the potential depth and breadth of the power each of you has to influence our institutions. And essentially our environment by controlling something as simple as what we nourish ourselves with each day. At the root of the message is a profound concept that regenerating soil is the basis of food freedom, and the result of this practice is health independence. The purpose of this system or cycle is to balance the ecosystem, which would stabilize the overall well-being of the planet, or of life. And so as you play the words that I share with you today across the life that you've already knowledgeably experienced, the momentum of these examples will be left as an empowering sense of clarity as you discover concepts whereby you can deliberately create a lifestyle that best will serve you. Rogue Food Conference. The name is so important, and it was chosen with deliberate intentions. When you look up the definition of rogue these days, it says the expression today is more likely to be used to indicate that someone is displaying some degree of independence, of failing to follow an expected script. Historically, rogue meant a mischievous person, especially a child, a person whose behavior one disapproves of, but who is nonetheless likable and attractive. Frequently as a playful term of reproof or reproach, as a term of endearment, or a wild animal separating from the herd. Rogue, in my definition of the word for my work today, is those who do not accept what is being given or mandated by institutions, but are creating the landscape to honor what is needed, to honor what is naturally required, as in this case, unadulterated food, which does not meet institutional standards and it does not meet their financial agenda. When institutions have defied nature for so long and pushed too far away from what is sustainable under universal laws, enough is enough. When Joel asked me to speak here, I thought, man, rogue food, this is going to be like a total blast. And I'm having such a great time. Anyway, I'm here to talk to you today about my 501c3 food church. It's funny, I never thought about the fact that I went rogue. And I wasn't even trying to go against the grain, but I felt like I was kind of caught between a rock and a hard place, because every time I shared my perspective, I literally, on anything, I was just having my back up against a wall. And, when you have to keep turning around and see behind you to operate, enough is enough. Especially when all you're trying to do is the right thing. And anyway, I feel that the mission that I'm always guided to share is to create food freedom for health independence. And in doing that, it requires bravery to step outside of society's expectations about how to nourish our bodies, and understanding that eating food is a very personal and sacred act. I approach health and nutrition from a free-thinking, universal law perspective and not an institutionalized, programmed thinking perspective. I believe that how you feel when you eat, how you feel after a meal, the emotions that your food caused you to have, all these feelings and emotions play a huge role in how the nutrition serves our body. Thank you, Joel, for breakfast this morning. That was what I eat at home every day, so it was a great start to this morning. There is no such thing as healthy and junk food in my perspective. There's only real food and poison. I mean, people say I'm being dramatic or extreme. I just don't think so. I mean, there's no such thing. I mean, okay, let me give you examples. Like, I would consider pure dark cacao and regeneratively raised meats real food. I believe industrialized food-like substances, like Beyond Meat, poison. I mean, I'm sorry, but I just don't understand why, if you are for plant material, that you just can't enjoy the plants, and why you got to pretend to eat meat. Isn't it funny? I mean, they're so morally correct in honoring plants that they don't even believe are alive. And they want to pretend to eat meat. That's a different kind of psychological operation altogether, isn't it? So plants raised in living soils that were prepared by livestock, that were massaging the land in preparation for the seed to be planted there, and grow to yield food, that's real food to me. Okay? Nutraceuticals, including all nutrition in a bottle. Pharmaceuticals, including anything that violates my sacred bloodstream. And powdered drink mixes is poison. When you take regeneratively raised eggs and you whisk them with olive oil, like pure unadulterated olive oil, and make mayonnaise, that's what's in mayonnaise, in case you don't know. I call that real food. When you create a concoction of mined minerals and mix that with petrochemicals that you transport to a large piece of land to grow plants on it, I call that poison. I had somebody tell me not very long ago, that you don't need manure to grow a garden. I said, well, you don't even need dirt. Have you ever heard of microgreens? You don't even need any medium to grow the seed. You just put a little water on it and give it some air, a little light, and it'll sprout. But do you want blank plant material, or you want something raised in some living soil? That's what I'm confused about still. I'm waiting for someone to show me the scientific proof, of how nature is doing this. Because in my mind, nature has this all figured out. I think you get the picture, right? It's very simple for me. When it comes to nutrition, I do not operate like the institutionalized nutritional professionals who are educated by the same people who produce and profit from the sale of poison disguised as food or medicine. Real food does not allow for the tremendous margins that poison imitation food or nutrition out of a bottle supports. You cannot mechanically mass produce life-giving force. The affordable and efficient chemistry project concoctions from laboratories is cheap imitation, and the side effects of imitation food is reflected in the people that are consuming it. I mean, take a look around. You guys see these people at market and everything every week, right? Joel's talking about this poor woman that the husband carried her body onto his property and was like, she needs meat. At least he knew that she needed meat. That's amazing. How you source your nutrition matters, and not just from an ethics point of view, but from a cellular perspective. I didn't really know that until our daughter was diagnosed with cancer. If you read my book, you can find out the whole story. But, you start looking at things very differently when you sit there and you listen to these physicians. And it's interesting to me that they're thinking about it, talking about it to me on a cellular perspective, and yet they don't have any idea what nourishes the cell. The only way that you can nourish your physical body is to use the highest quality life-giving force that is only found from the soil that is managed with thoughtful husbandry and with the orchestration of livestock on the soil. We can get into the economics of this. However, if finances are going to determine what quality of nutrition you require, then animal-based nutrition is the only way to go. It's the only way to gain health. If an animal is alive and able to move, even in its suffering, it has more to offer than this blank plant material. I mean, think about it, y'all. Which brings me to the institutions that our society's belief systems are built around. Beliefs are just thoughts we keep thinking, or thoughts that we're expected to be thinking, until we are more regularly thinking them. And these thoughts are taught to us or instilled in us by institutions from a very early age. School children are programmed with institutional belief systems from the time you enroll them until they come out. And isn't it interesting that it's a law that they have to be in school? These institutions that are programming our children are the same institutions that are able to operate without any legal ramifications. They are who educated you and made you believe that these universal law-based facts are to be questioned. Did you also know that institutions do not apologize? Institutions do not ever admit to being wrong. The only way to shift the beliefs of an institution is to shift the beliefs of the people who created it. Hence the grassroots-based movements such as what look at this. I am so excited about this room. I wasn't even sure who was going to be here for this, but I'm so proud of all of you for arriving today. Thank you so much. Institutionalized programming requires an emotionally based psychological operation to be created and effectively communicated to the masses. And that is exactly what our media and institutions are doing. These structures, the media and the institutions, they were originally created to operate as our servants. Over time, however, they have become our masters. The corporatocracy has been given institutionalized strength power. And the current institutions are operating with a conflict of interest. The institutions were designed to work for the people, by the people, but now the people have been replaced by the financial benefactors, which are the corporations. Hence my determination not to participate. Institutions will be the first to rebuke anyone who goes against their proclamations. And they will defend their stance until the people who created them decide to change. So be brave, okay? I decided to be the catalyst for this change. To effect social change that I wish to see requires integrity. Emotional integrity is in alignment with freedom, knowledge, empowerment, cooperation. I'm seeking all the cooperation that I can find from all of you here today. Joy, love, and appreciation. This is the opposite of the current state of our society, which is ruled by competition. Now, the emotional competition is in alignment with unworthiness, insecurity. I'm hearing this from a lot of you as I'm talking to people. There's a lot of insecurity, fear, or anger, which is a real, Thank you for being angry. That's like a level up, okay? Division. Because what's happening is an art of war style division that's being created, in case you aren't aware of this. I think you guys are, right? Grief and depression. I will not defend life-giving force because the truth does not require a defense. I don't like the defending of beef. You don't need to defend beef. Who eats beef and doesn't feel great? Who's smelling some beef on a grill and isn't happy? I don't need to convince you to move towards the grill. Meanwhile, I gotta encourage you to try to blend some kale over here. I mean, I don't know anybody excited about this, but everybody is gonna meet you at the grill. Everybody. It's an instinctual thing, right? I mean, do we need to explain or defend why we need to eat meat? I don't think so. I'm Indian, by the way. We're not supposed to eat beef. My grandfather, though, I will say, he was a renowned homeopathic physician, and he told us, he said, you don't eat based on religion. You eat based on your geographic location. And he told my mother when they came to the States, he said, I don't know, your mother raised you some kind of religious way, and I'm telling you that when you go to the States, make sure you eat beef. Make sure my grandchildren eat beef every day. Because in America, they eat beef for some reason. We don't know why. And when he came to visit us, he would always make sure that we had beef. He would make sure to take us anywhere to get it if it wasn't in the house. And he used to yell at my mom if there wasn't any in the house. Indian people are cringing everywhere right now. And whenever I would go visit in India, then he would say to me, he would get us to, me and my sister away from my mother, try to have this private conversation with us, to interrogate us, to find out what's going on, because children are so honest, right? And so he would say, are you guys vegetarian at home? And I would say, what? And he said, are you a vegetarian? I said, no, I'm a meat-Iranian. He goes, okay, good, you're eating beef, right? And I was like, yes. So it was very important to him. And thank goodness, because, I would be anemic, I think, if I wasn't eating beef. Anyway, look, you either participate and glean the life force and the power that it graces you with, or you do not. And so I decided that I would rather focus on revealing truths of our bountiful, powerful, abundant, life-giving forces. In doing so, I saw how the institutions have programmed everyone into a state of defense. People have their guard up at all times. People wander around tirelessly, consuming, blaming, defending, fighting. And this is not an intelligent or efficient use of my time, so it's really not it's not in anyone's best interest. And so, what I find is that everybody is just desperately seeking relief. So I choose to create my own world of freedom, empowerment, truth, and integrity, without the worry of the structure that is failing us. I mean, it's collapsing. My focus had to be solutionary. And so I created Farm to Fork Meat Riot, the 501c3 nonprofit, or as I lovingly refer to it as my food church. I was offending people by calling it a food church because people were like, what are you talking about? What church? I got the atheists don't like me because I've got a church. I got the religious people upset because they're confused about what religion I'm trying to, impose on them because they're firm in their belief. Look, my food church allows me to congregate freely and share truths about the medicinal benefits of regenerative food. The food church enables me to provide easy access to the regenerative farmers and artisans, and in my food church, whatever I say is armored. I'm sharing my heart with a lot of love and respect for the order of nature, and I have no reason to make claims. I'm accused of making claims all the time. I have no reason to make claims for the benefits I was not responsible for creating. I'm sharing my discoveries as a health investigator, because I can't be a nutritionist and I can't be a certified whatever, I don't know. I'm simply sharing what I know to be true. And I created my food church to be able to serve those who wish to hear. It's amazing. People want to hear it. They don't go away. I even tell them to go away. And they don't leave. And they even yell at me. But they won't leave. They keep coming back. They say that I'm a food Nazi. They call me all these bad names. But they won't go away. I don't have any chains on them. It's kind of funny. But anyway. The creation of the nonprofit was the real easy part. All it takes is a simple Google search. Okay? Now we got Google. I didn't have Google when I was first starting out on this thing. The part that people need to hear is the fact that we as people have power. We create institutions to serve us and not for them to be the masters of us. We are responsible for our own body and how we choose to nourish it, but we have to be able to love ourselves and say, I am worthy. I matter. And in doing so, I ignite the power that is innately in me to follow my own intuitive inspirations that lead me to live in a world where I'm the master of my institutions and not the other way around. People say that, well, Nikki, do you just not face reality? No. I don't care. I guess I do kind of live in my own little bubble because I don't really get out much. I feel like when I go out into the world, I just am shocked and awed at all the chaos and confusion everywhere all the time. So I just choose not to look at it and just go back into my little world where I make my own rules. Nice. Have a little law and order there. My program has evolved over the past 10 years. I'm sure it will continue to evolve. I was joking with Joel, saying, 10 years ago when I first started this, my plan was to go to Polyface, buy all my stuff, and just sell it to everybody. That was easy. He's not that far, And he wouldn't let me bring anything back to North Carolina with me. He's like, you got to find your own people over there. I said, you're making this so hard. And as I got to know farmers over the past 10 years, I think it was kind of a joke. Joel could watch me deal with these crazy farmers. Maybe it was to help me appreciate you a little bit more. I don't really know. Because what I learned is, what all the farmers are struggling with and what they're facing, which, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for pushing me into corners. Anyway, my main goal when I originally created the program was simply to create a reliable demand and support for regenerative small family farms. I needed my farms to not quit farming. But more importantly, I needed them not to quit farming regeneratively and with integrity. I didn't know these words then. I was just looking for food, okay? And I had a daughter that was not well, and I was trying not to let my other children become unwell. And I just needed the food, and I couldn't farm. We're Indian. My husband He's an environmental engineer, and he's not going to farm. Can't get him to move too far out. I mean, I got him to come down from New Jersey to Carolinas, and that was a big thing, you know, because he's a big city guy. So I can't get him to homestead or anything, so we just got to find the people, the professionals that are doing it, and support them. And that's good because, you know, my forte is to talk to people and to teach and to sell. That was, you know, I've been in sales. In my past life, I was a very aggressive salesperson. I used to go into various markets across the country. I've worked in 36 markets across the country, and my job was to take people from the red and put them in the black in 36 days. That's pretty crazy because, you know, you walk into a situation and everybody sees you as a threat because they think you're going to come fire them or whatever, when people don't understand hiring and firing people is a very expensive thing to do. You really just want to retrain people and keep them on board if they're willing to stay. And so it was my job with no budget to, you know, identify the people, create, you know, a relationship with them and try to win them over, make assessments and win friends and influence people like this, you know. So that was what I used to do. And I thought, well, I can definitely sell some food I love. How hard can it be, you know? Well, I knew, a successful CSA program with integrity would require me to retrain eaters how to eat, or how to shop for their food. So I needed to create a psychological operation. I was a psych major, you guys, just so you know. Yeah, industrial psychology, that was what that was. And back then it was just, you know, psychology or medicine or law. I don't know what these people are taking these days. I mean, my one niece, she's got some course she's taken. It's robotics and physics and medicine. And it's like a page long, the description. So anyway, I think they do all this stuff. They come out, they don't know what to do with that. Anyway, once I knew the solution, creating value for it was a no-brainer, okay? I had to begin by setting the guidelines, creating the standards, teaching both eaters and farmers or ranchers how to shop, cook, eat, or produce foods to meet those standards. This is the time around when farmers were saying, you can't tell people how to eat meat. I was like, yes, you can. That's what TV does every day. Every day. And the people listen, as evidenced by the Cheerios and whatever the stuff in the box is. I don't know. It's a zebra cake. I just found that out. I don't understand it. Okay, so I very quickly learned that all of this teaching and creation, it was easily misconstrued as making claims, operating as an unlicensed practitioner, or even someone told me I was a self-proclaimed governing body. I didn't even know I had that much power, really. Wow. Self-proclaimed governing body. I knew this because all that does is, you know, Joel affectionately speaks in the Departments of Agriculture, they started to come after me. It started with the NCDA, then the FDA, then the USDA, and they all came knocking on my door. I mean, the intimidation was insane, okay? I'm just trying to sell some meat over here. Let me give you some perspective. I mean, I started in my garage, you guys, with 5 families, okay? And in my garage, I don't think I was ever greater than like 100 families. That's a lot, actually, out of my garage, 100 families, right? And I moved into brick and mortar, and we got up to like 500. But when I was at 100, it's like Joel was just saying a minute ago, like, how do the bureaucrats even know who I am? I mean, my brother-in-law doesn't think anybody thinks they're looking at me. I used to hide I used to want to only have my BlackBerry phone because I didn't want anybody to get my numbers, and I didn't want to marry to this cloud or whatever. And, you know, and I would say to my brother-in-law, the tech guy, okay, so he's like, well, you really need an iPhone, and you need this and that, and I would never switch. And I mean, I used that thing until I just really couldn't it just didn't work anymore. And because I needed some kind of data system. I mean, I had all these books and papers and whatever for the longest time. But I said, well, I can't put any of my farm farmers' phone numbers and addresses on the cloud because, people are after me. And my brother-in-law was laughing. He's like, who are you? Nobody cares about you. You're crazy. Like, what's going on over here? You're in your garage doing something. I don't know what you're doing over there with all those coolers. Well, the USDA knew who I was. And the FDA, everybody had a file on me. As I was facing one obstacle after the next, I was forced to do something big to finesse the system. So I decided to form a 501c3 nonprofit. I just couldn't even freely communicate with eaters or farmers because everything I was saying I wasn't allowed to say. And you guys, if you're producing food here, then you know that you're not going to talk to anybody until you get to know them really. So, I'm just a little Indian woman, okay? So if I come up to you, you're going to be like, okay, little Indian woman, what do you know about raising cows or anything? And you're trying to set standards. What are you talking about, And have you ever raised a cow? I ate a cow, but I don't raise it. So I said, well, all I'm trying to do is sell some beef, okay? I just want to sell it. And I was trying to understand what was going on. Like, what is the big deal? And it took me about 5 years, really, to get to know the truth about what farmers were facing because you guys are pretty tight-mouthed about things, and it was really hard to get the truth out. And once I figured out what was happening, then my mind was blown, and I was trying to figure out how I was going to do that. Well, the only way I could think of was religious freedom, okay? And my food religion, I should probably start with, hold on, let me get back on point here. Hold on. I realized that churches could talk about anything they believed, okay? And then leading the congregation in teachings of your food religion is also not considered making claims, okay? Or operating as a practitioner. I'm just some kind of preacher, okay? Religion is my reference for the purposes of the food church, and the definition of the word goes like this: a cause, a principle, or system of beliefs held to with ardor or faith. Does that work for everybody?
Yeah, it works.
So I created my farm to fork meat religion. And meat was very important. Farm to fork meat. People try to cut off the meat part. It doesn't work. And it's a meat riot. The vegans think I'm creating a riot against the meat. I had vegan fans for a minute until they saw me eating steaks. Anyway, my food religion is advocating for food freedom as substantiated by the universal laws of nature, established to serve the greater need for health independence for everyone's well-being, including all living beings, organisms, plant life, soil, and our macro and micro ecosystems on the planet. My church has been established to liberate those who wish to go back to living as communities that supported one another, not because everyone liked each other, but because everyone respected each other well enough to know that we are all in this together. So let me be clear. I am doing whatever it takes. Whatever it is that I had to do that would allow me to finesse the governing laws so that I could share my truth with those who wish to listen and participate. Apparently, everything I was saying was not allowed. I'm serious, and the level of seriousness is equal to the government officials knocking on my door whenever they wanted to. And I share a lot of my experiences in my book, but I'll just give you one small example. So I'm a registered North Carolina state meat handler. I registered when I first began, trying to follow all the little rules, check all the little boxes. So the definition of a meat handler is an individual or business that engages in receiving and or storing, transporting, and or selling wholesale or retail of fully marked, labeled, and wholesome meat and or poultry product. As a registered meat handler, I was subject to random unannounced inspections from the state. When I was operating out of my garage, then there were some freezers that were my personal freezers, and they did not require inspection. And then there were the for sale freezers that had to be inspected and meet all the criteria of the meat handler's requirements. In my commercial space, there was no allowance for personal freezers when I moved into brick and mortar, okay? And because we were in a commercial space and now open to the general public, or that just means that the general public could come in, okay? Every freezer was up for inspection. So when the NCDA came to inspect me the first time, within the first 3 months that I was there, then he informed me of all the new rules. He became a whole different person. He was a very friendly person at my house. And now that I'm in this commercial brick and mortar, he's not a very nice person. He said he would come back after a month to allow me time to correct the infractions that he observed. And he really, really made me very, very upset. And I was not happy, and I felt like it was kind of like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde situation with this man for me, because he was so nice and friendly before, and now he's crazy. Because he realized, I guess, or somebody realized that, oh, she's in brick and mortar now. She's growing, right? Well, first of all, I was never open to the general public. I was operating a members-only operation, okay? And it wasn't something that the institutions have defined. So their code, there was a lot of confusion because they couldn't figure out how to apply the code, all right? So for those of you who do not handle large volumes of meat, who does and who doesn't? Who doesn't handle it? Anybody in here not handling large amounts of meat? Oh, okay, good. Then I'll go ahead with this part of the story. Okay, so when you're not handling large volumes of meat, then when you transport a lot of meat from the processor to your freezers, then, a lot of times you can have broken seals. And so it could just be because maybe the seal didn't take when they were sealing, vacuum sealing, or it could be pressure, like jostling along the rod or whatever. And it could also just be that maybe somebody mishandled a package of meat. I mean, it's generally like 2 to 5 packs for every steer, for example, okay? And so these packages are not allowed to be placed in the for sale freezers. There's nothing wrong with this meat, all right? It just, the seal's broken. And I'm not allowed to repackage it because, I'd have to have some kind of license to do that. All right, so what I used to do was just put them in a personal freezer, and then as the members came in, then I would just say, hey, are you cooking, if I saw somebody buying whatever it was that I had, then I would say, are you cooking that tonight because we have a broken seal, can you go ahead and take this one, thaw real fast, and be real nice and easy. It was not a big deal. Well, I'm not allowed to do that anymore, and I'm not allowed to rewrap things. And in my opinion, we should be able to offer the packs, first and explain to them how to just cook it sooner than later. And otherwise, it's going to become freezer burn, all right? Because air will enter the package and crystals will form on the meat. So, anyway, and in the state of North Carolina, I don't know about everywhere, okay? But if you're a third-party meat handler for resale, not the farmer, not the rancher, okay? Third party. If you're third party like me, then all the meat has to be frozen. It cannot be fresh, which is fine with me, okay? It's easier to handle when it's frozen than it is when it's fresh. And for me as a third party, it's nice because I know I can preserve this meat and it's going to be the highest quality until somebody takes it home and is ready to eat it, okay? According to the USDA, FSIS Safety and Security Guidelines for Transportation and Distribution of Meat, Poultry, and Egg Products, this is national, okay? Trailers and trucks should be pre-cooled for at least 1 hour before loading to remove residual heat from the insulation and inner lining of the trailer as well as from the air of the trailer. For pre-cooling, the door should be closed and the temperature setting of the unit should be no higher than 26 degrees Fahrenheit. On the Fahrenheit scale, the freezing point of water is 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Meat starts to freeze at 26 to 28 degrees Fahrenheit. But traditionally, it's been considered to be frozen when the core temperature of the meat reaches 0 degrees. Okay, so that technically, they can say all your meat is fresh. Okay, are we all catching on to what's going on? So all the meat's frozen. Okay, there is no meat being transported that's not frozen, unless Joel's bringing it to the restaurant and then different than it's fresh for the chef. But if a farmer is not delivering it to the chef frozen, if it's coming from Cisco or wherever, it is frozen. Or else they're not following USDA guidelines. So for the grocery shopper who's hearing this, your meat has been thawed and frozen up to 5 times. Do you know that on your package it says do not repackage and refreeze? Okay, that's why. Because they already have reduced the condition and the quality of your meat by thawing and freezing it 5 times, okay? So if you're buying direct from a farmer, one of the major benefits is that it was only frozen once. Now you can take it home and thaw it, change your mind, refreeze it 5 times. It'll be equal to the crap in the store, okay? Oh, sorry, the food and the meat in the store. Sorry. If you're paying close attention, meat sold in centralized distribution locations by a third party. Again, we are not talking about direct from a farmer, okay? Is thawing on the shelf when you pick it up as fresh meat. If you look in a grocery store, Harris Teeter, Walmart, I don't know, wherever people go, if you go in the store and you look at the meat, they put the frozen meat out there in the morning. So, they buy kernel cuts or I guess Walmart buys whole steers. I don't know what they do. But then they're repackaging it at their whatever center is, So they send that carcass somewhere to be packaged. It's frozen in between, all right? So when I have all these butchers arguing with me about how they only serve fresh meat, and there's no histamines and whatever nonsense they're saying, that is a lie. It has been frozen because those guys can't even trace their meat back. They don't even know where. I mean, it would be different if they know they bought it from Polyface and they had an arrangement with you to pick it up from your abattoir. That's different. Most of these places are not doing that, okay? I want to be very clear, it's been frozen. Because as someone who's working, coaching people back to health, and the people tell me they can't eat anything but fresh meat, I don't know where they're buying it. Because if you're buying it in a store for cheap because you don't have any money, because you're arguing with me, because you can't support regenerative, because you got to go to Walmart or wherever to buy it, it has been frozen and whatever. I mean, never mind how it was raised, okay? So at that moment, it isn't anything equal. And don't tell me that you can eat that fresh meat and you can't thaw a Polyface pounded ground and it's not better. I just want to make that clear for folks. No one just killed that creature out back at Walmart. They didn't butcher it, they just packaged it there. Who knows how many animals that is anyway in the package? We don't know. And so there has never been frozen fresh meat, but it is safe. It's safe. It's dead and it's safe. Okay. It gets recalled sometimes, but it's safe. I don't know how many Polyface packs been recalled. I don't know. Anyway, fresh meat, it's a hot mess. It leaks. And, when you're trying to transport it for miles and miles and miles, not fresh from the farm, straight to the chef, no. Talking about miles. We don't know where this stuff. Centralized meat is not local. We all realize this, right? Okay? I don't know how many days it takes to go from the farm to wherever in the world it's going. I don't imagine it's just a few. Is it dry aging? Is that what they call it? They don't even say their meat is aged. I don't understand. It's not dry aging on the way for 30 days, wherever. And that would only work with beef, as we all know, right? Okay. So, sorry. I'm getting distracted. I get so worked up about these things because people want to argue. All right. Anyway, if you're handling a large volume of meat, you can't afford to throw away 2 to 5 packs per steer. I can't. All right. So I decided that day I am just not going to participate in these inspections. Because why? I'm not open to the general public. All right. So when the inspector came back, flashed his badge, and he says to me, "I'm here to inspect your freezers." I said, yeah, I kind of changed my mind. I don't think I want to comply. I do not participate. But it's okay. It's okay. I have removed all liability from you. It's not your problem. Don't worry about it. Because I was told the inspector is trying to help me and educate me and protect me by making me aware that I'm opening myself up for litigious attacks by the people who are going to get sick off of this meat that I'm selling them. In a decade, I haven't known one sick person in my life. If anything, my people will get better. I've never known anybody who's getting stuff from me regularly who still has any ailment that they ever had before. If anything, their health is leaps and bounds better than it ever was before. So I tell him, no problem. Thank you for the warning. Thank you. But I don't need your protection, but I appreciate it so much. He says to me, he goes, well, are you distributing meat and poultry? Yes, sir. Well, then I need to inspect your freezers. No, you don't. You're outside of your jurisdiction. I'm a 501c3 nonprofit corporation. I don't know what that means, but are you distributing meat and poultry? Well, yes. Well, then you're going to have to step aside, ma'am. Now he's a jerk, okay? Now he's a lot of words I can't say. You're going to have to step aside. This is a tall guy, and he's like, overpowering me, and I'm just in my little space. I don't have a bunch of labor. I don't have a bunch of help. It's just me, okay? In this space, and I've got members coming in and out, and, now my members are like my little army over here, gathering in a corner watching this exchange. Some of them run out and leave. Most of them are standing right there. And the man won't leave, and I'm telling them, I'll be right with you. Please just, I have an inspector here. I need y'all to just hang tight. None of them left. They all stood right there. And I said to him, well, this is my food church. What is a food church? He's like, what are you talking about? And I said, well, I have these members. They're right here. They pay me a fee. And when they pay me a fee, they've legally agreed to participate in my church. It's a contract, okay? And they choose to be here, and you're here to protect them. You're definitely not here to protect me, right? Isn't this the truth? You are here to protect the buyer. Well, on my website, if you read my legal, I say buyer beware. Y'all don't understand. I make my buyers go through a whole lot before they can get in the CSA. I got rules because I'm a Nazi food person, remember this? So he says, you don't tell your people buyer beware. All the people right there in my little cheerleading section, yes, she does. Yes, she does. One guy says, she told me I have no recourse here. He goes, I don't know really what that means, but I don't have any. And I said, yes, you know. You know what that means, because I educated you. You're an educated buyer. Yeah, I know what it means. And so the inspector is going nuts, okay? Well, man, he can't be made to be looking like a fool in front of all these people. He goes, well, I'm going to have to go make a call. So I don't know what happens everywhere else. But in my experience, I don't even know if it's a state of North Carolina thing. I don't know. What I know is that I was leasing that space from a management company in the city of Raleigh. So this inspector goes to my landlord, and he says, I'm shutting this operation down. And he said that she is not complying, and she won't allow me to inspect her freezers, and she's distributing meat. Now, I have a relationship with my management company, and they already know I'm crazy. And, I already had them read all my rules and know all this stuff because I asked them 20 million questions about it before I moved in because I'm from real estate, okay? And I had to have some knowledge of real estate to even get the space because you just can't move into a commercial space. You got to fill in some of their checks and balances, whatever. When you want to lease commercial space, you have to be able to fill a box. I said, this is a learning center, okay? We're educating people here. And so, yes, I do not comply, but I do educate the buyers. And the only reason that we have these laws in place is to protect the buyers. So if I am giving them full disclosure, I have honored the law, haven't I? I thought so. I thought I had honored the law. And I must have because the guy couldn't do nothing. He got mad, he sat in the space, he wrote a whole bunch of stuff, he made mean faces at me, and then he left. Well, this was followed by an FDA inspection a week later. The USDA came by a week after that. All of them. This is a repeat performance. I can talk about it forever. I mean, there were some funnier, there were little incidences, but repeated over and over and over again, okay? And so from 2013 to 2016, instead of the monthly visits, these guys came around every quarter. And let me just tell you, the inspections were supposed to be annual. Okay? And I was never just released. I mean, revoke my meat handler's license if you want to. Because that way, if a consumer is concerned about that and they don't see me listed on the meat handler's list, then they just know I'm crazy or something, right? They can just not trust me. They never have removed me from the list, just by the way. And also, they just want to harass me. Well, I don't care. Practice these words, people. I don't care. I don't care. All you got to do is be honest with the people who you're selling to, okay? All right. I just want y'all to know that these intimidation tactics should not worry you, okay? I want you to be confident that the institutions are not trying to have a war with you. They just don't even know what to do with you. They don't. And these poor guys are just trying to do their job. They don't know what to do with me. And I moved, by the way, back home. I explain why in the book. Because I was feeling some pressure just real quick. I was feeling pressure that my poor management company was having to deal with these guys constantly going there and telling them that they're going to shut me down, okay? And I felt that the people should help provide me with a paid-for church that we own so that I don't have to go through all of that, all right? Anyway, let me get to the nitty-gritty of how to do the food church thing, okay?
You got about 2 minutes.
Okay, I'm sorry. If you're establishing a private food system, should I read my legal disclaimer now?
You got 2 minutes. You can do whatever you want to. I don't care.
So, one thing I'm going to do following up the conference is questions that don't get answered, you will send to me. And I'm going to do some follow-up interviews with the speakers. So if there's some things we need to go over after, we'll get that. We'll find out exactly what they need, and we'll make that happen.
All right, I will say this. Is Pete Kennedy here?
Yeah.
Where's Pete? Pete, I have never met you in person.
Right.
I love Pete Kennedy. I only ever talked to him on the phone. Pete Kennedy wrote my legal disclaimer. So I encourage all of you to speak with Pete if you need some type of legal disclaimer written for your state. Because every state's very different, okay? And I think that I'm covered federally with this disclaimer.
Why not?
It's my world. I just create my own world. In my world, it works. It works. So what happened was that I called Pete and told him that I needed to have some kind of legal disclaimer. Because, the long and the short of it is, you guys, if you have a membership situation, I have to, by the way, only take credit cards so I have a paper trail to prove that I only sell to my members. And because I have a paper trail, The institutions can never say anything to me. I don't like supporting banks that way, but it's clean and it's simple, and I don't have the time or the energy to care about the fees and all the crap. Okay, I just don't. So it's real simple. If they're members and they pay a fee and you don't sell to anybody except the people in the membership who pay the fee, then they've agreed to your terms. You got it? Does anybody have any questions about that? I guess I don't have time for questions. Thank you.
Yeah, she, profound, huh? Profound. Thank you, Nikki. Thank you. We're not leaving. She's around all day, so there are breaks, there are meals.